Hi and welcome, Todd Cahill. You're listening to the It's Not Out There, but It's In You podcast, where on this podcast we talk all about the battles that we all face in our life and really how the battles that we face affect us and how we can think differently about each battle and start redefining its meaning so we can start relinquishing its power over us. See, it's a choice you have to make every day to become the best you. So we want to help you return to the battle at hand, the issues that you face, redefine what their meanings are, and then repeat the cycle over and over in order to keep winning the battle that you face. So stay tuned. So glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of It's Not Out There, It's In You podcast. My name's Todd Cahill. I'm your host and excited to be talking to everyone today. Excited for you that you're listening in today. And you might be on a treadmill, you might be on your way to work, you might be in your car. Wherever you're at, just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. It is an honor for me to be here with you. And been listening to podcasts myself for many years, as long as I can remember that they actually were out, especially on the iPhone. Now they're all over Spotify and everything and iTunes, which is super fantastic because, whether I'm at the gym or I'm, maybe driving long hours or something. I love to drive, by the way, so love listening to incredible things while I drive and just let my mind wander through that incredible information. So love podcasts. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about money. And a lot of these podcasts are, the premise of them are based off my book, You Versus You, the 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win, which is super cool. I have a book coming out February 19th, for me at least. Something I've always wanted to be as an author. And I've always wanted to, physically hold a book in my hand and be able to say I wrote something, back in the day. But things have changed for me. That was a cool goal back then in your early 20s. But now that I'm almost 38, my perspective of money, my perspective of goals and stuff, even with the book and what I want to do with it, has completely shifted. And that's what I'd like to talk to you about today is a little bit of the way that, how we go about money. And I'm going to start by really educating you a little bit. Not that I know it all or I know more than you about money, because I certainly don't. In a lot of ways, but I have been an entrepreneur, if you don't know my story, for over 14 to 15 years. I started from nothing. I got started in what a lot of people call MLM, because that's exactly what it is, or network marketing. And network marketing is cool. You can start from, wherever you're at. You get a couple $100 investment, and whether it's a service company or a product company, anyone can do it. Unless, I guess, you're a convicted felon or you're just a bad person. I don't know if you can get in, but most everyone can get in and join network marketing. And I was homeless at the time, and I shared my story on the previous podcast, but I won't go into too many details. But I didn't have money, and there's this saying a lot of times that people say, like, money doesn't bring happiness, or money's not everything. And I understand why they say that, because it's trying to lead to more of a significance in someone's life instead of just success. Like, a Lamborghini is not going to make you happy, which is absolutely true. In a way, I think driving it makes you happy. It's a temporary feeling, right? And then when you're done, you're done. And, you still have to move on with your life. Same with a house. This is amazing feeling. I know when we bought our house, it was a dream house about 2 years ago, and 6,000 square feet, looking at a beautiful golf course here in, Illinois in the Midwest. And, the kids came in and they were just so thrilled and excited, but they're not thrilled and excited and jumping around and, screaming, "Oh my God, this is my bedroom. This is all mine," every time they go to their bedroom now. So there's a big difference. So that feeling of a materialistic thing does wear off. I think we all can agree with that. But to my point, I would also say that money does bring happiness. It brings experiences. And it gives you options. And I think everyone listening to this podcast is looking for more options. you have to keep your income options open, so to speak. It's something that, we said in our industry so many times when I would prospect somebody years ago and I said, hey, you look sharp. Do you keep your income options open? And they're like, duh, dude. Why would you ask me such a stupid question? Everyone keeps their income options open, right? But we're not going to talk about MLM today. We're talking about a lot of different things. We're talking about money, and we're going to talk about the perspective of money and how to have the right mindset towards money. Because again, I have to be very careful with this topic because someone that's listening to this can say, $50,000 a year is fine. And I can work my 9 to 5. I can make $50,000 a year. I can save. I could do some Dave Ramsey stuff, which I love Dave, and kind of just, pay off this, pay off that, invest this, long term. And hey, when I'm 80, I'm a millionaire. And that's absolutely true that you can do that if you're really smart with your money. But I'm going to take a different approach. I'm not here to counsel you on how to budget. I'm not here to counsel you on money at all. I'm just here to talk about how to win that battle so that you don't self-sabotage yourself. And for me, money was something that was interesting. I post a lot, not a lot, but I post about this actually recently on social media. And I talked about when I was in 8th grade. My mom, when I was December 21st, my birthday, and towards Christmas. And I remember that day like vividly. December 21st. I think it was 1990. 92 or 93, probably 94, 95, actually. I was in 8th grade. Actually, probably 91. Who knows? Who cares? But anyway, she said, what do you want to do today? And I said, well, I'm hungry. And she took me out to a fancy restaurant in local upstate New York. And make a long story short, I just saw a bunch of men in business suits, middle of the day, eating a nice steak and a baked potato and some vegetables, and some were having, even like wine and stuff like that. And I was just like, wow, middle of your day, you get to sit in a suit and have business meetings with maybe clients or, a lot of them, it looked like this was all they did for a living, just kind of meet with people and eat. So who doesn't love eating, and who doesn't love eating really fancy food? Because at that time wasn't like that was a big deal that my mom was even bringing me there. Okay. So the bottom line is that's when I started to want for money. That's when I started to think, okay, businessman, can I do it? I saw my mom do network marketing, Mary Kay on the side. And that's where something kind of triggered in my mind that I could be rich. I don't have to necessarily follow a path that everyone is following in the world. And this was an 8th grade kind of realization. My second realization, where I really figured it out, and I don't have to follow the crowd, because why would I want to follow the crowd? I think of myself as a little unique. I don't want to be like everyone else. I want to be unique. I want to be a rebel in certain ways, and I don't want to. Because if you look at the average statistic of Americans right now, I mean, it's like 77 to 80%, according to a recent study, has less than $1,000 in their checking account right now. I was at the ATM the other day with my son, and they left a receipt in the area that I live in, downtown Rockford, Illinois. I lived in California, but in Illinois, and I looked at the thing. They just left it there. It was like $1,100 in their checking, and people just leave their balance receipts there, when you're going to get money in the ATM. And it's just like, I just kind of wonder, like, who is that family? Do they have kids? They only have $1,000 in their account currently. I mean, gosh, next 2 bills that we have is going to be well over $1,000. What do you do about that situation, right? And it really just comes down to how you think about money, and it comes down to your education. And I'm not talking about the education of going to college or going to high school, because they don't teach this in college. And that's why it's cool to tune into a podcast and you can kind of learn it yourself. And for me, my second realization when I was in college, I was a sophomore in college at Liberty University, and I read a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, whether you like the author or not, his name is Robert Kiyosaki. Maybe you've never heard of him. Maybe you have heard of him. But his book, and I don't know if the Rich Dad really was his Rich Dad, and I don't know if it's a made-up fable or, I don't know, okay? All I know is it makes a lot of sense, okay? And his rich dad had an 8th grade education but owned a lot of real estate. and his poor dad was his real dad, who was in Hawaii. And he was both were in Hawaii because that's where he grew up, but he was a superintendent of education, in that area, had all of the degrees and all the stuff, and died broke, basically, his real father. And his best friend's father was his rich dad, so, quote unquote. So I read this book, and I also read Cash Flow Quadrant. Now, here I am, 19, 20 years old. So anyway, I don't want to make this podcast about me, but the bottom line is I changed and shifted my thinking. So for you, how do you really look at money? How do you perceive money? Is money a bad thing? Because I think if someone's listening to this podcast and they're just thinking, look, they might even say something like this, which kind of scares me. I'm a Christian. God doesn't want us to be rich. God wants us to suffer in his name, and I got to just say, look, there's things in life called dogma, okay? It's just things that are made up by man. They're not made up by God. Now, should you just pursue your whole life to get rich? No. I think you should pursue your passions, and you should pursue what you really love to do. And I truly believe the money will follow to an extent. Okay, so let me give an example. I'm 37. I'm 6'6". If let's say tomorrow morning I wake up and I'm just like, you know what? I didn't fulfill my childhood dream of being in the NBA. I'm gonna. Let's say I just laced up my Jordan sneakers. I just watched a Michael Jordan YouTube video, and I'm like, I want to be like Mike. 37. I'm gonna go back to school, which I could because I never finished, and have a couple years of eligibility. I'd be the oldest college basketball player in the country history or whatever. And technically I could, right? And then, really just hope for the best and try to get, the NBA to look at me. There's just no way. Does that make sense? Some people's dreams are over. And you got to move on to a more realistic dream, even though I don't really like that word realistic, but I do. Like, whatever your dream is right now, your current age, your current lifestyle, whatever, wherever you're at, you gotta be realistic with, can this really happen if I pursue it? Can I really do it? Do I have the skill set? Like, if I want to be a business person, if I want to be an entrepreneur, have I ever been an entrepreneur before? Okay, no, because I think we all start somewhere, obviously. But do I have the balls to pursue it long term? Do I have the stick-to-itiveness to be here a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And if the answer is like, well, I don't know, don't motherfucking do it then. Don't do it. Stay at your 9 to 5. You're not ready for it. So whatever comes down to it, you've got to look at yourself and say, look, is this really, can I really pursue this? And if I really do XYZ, hire a coach, listen to many podcasts, read some books, get the right mindset, can I really pursue this and possibly achieve this goal? And if you are confident that you can do that, let me tell you something, that means you're passionate about that. You need to pursue that. You need to do whatever it takes. Maybe, keep your job for a little while and work, instead of 9 to 5, you work 9 to 5, then come home and 5 to 9 or 7 to 11 p.m., whatever it is, you are pursuing that. Maybe you start your own podcast. Maybe you do more Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives. Maybe you're selling more product on eBay or something. Whatever it is, you're pursuing it with passion, the money's going to follow. Okay, that's why a lot of people are just flat out not successful, is because they're picking the wrong field to be in. And there's no wealth in a lot of these fields. So when I picked up the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, I realized, like, if I go to school and get good grades and get a good job, how is that going to work? I'm just going to be maxed out maybe at $80,000 a year, $100,000 a year, because only 2% of the country in America makes $100,000 a year. 2%. Now, I'm not saying I'm not in the 2%. I'm not saying that I can't pursue that, but what's the percentage of people that make $100,000 a month at their job? Not high. Hardly anyone, unless you're the CEO of some major company, okay? So the bottom line is, I needed to first know what game I was playing in. Was I playing in the game of the rat, which is the rat race, or was I playing in the game of the entrepreneur? So it's a big deal when you finally have that awakening that money is, is a mental process as it is about endurance. It was through that book that I learned about the mindset of an entrepreneur. And then that led me to many other books and more and more and more podcasts, more audios, more CDs back in the day used to listen to. Now you just obviously can get them on YouTube or whatever, some educational stuff, a lot of mentors, both men and women that have mentored me in that money mindset, if you will. But great ideas become great fortunes only if the person behind them is really willing to become great also. That's the big thing. Like if you want to make a fortune, you want to have an incredible business, the person behind the business, the person behind the idea needs to become greater than their idea. Steve Jobs is greater than his idea of a pod, the iPod and all of the devices, the iPhone. And we remember Steve Jobs for who he is, not because, oh yeah, this is, Steve Jobs just, created the iPhone. He's cool. No. Steve Jobs created the culture of how technology shifted back in the early 2000, end of 1999, 98 area when he took over for Apple again and got his job back, basically, if you know the story of Steve Jobs. But amazing story, amazing man, like him or not, whatever. He is one of the greatest, if not the greatest entrepreneur to ever walk this earth. So he was greater than just his ideas. And he was able to have the capacity to share those, the communication skills, the skill set, management, whatever you want to call it, leadership, whether you like to style or not, he was a great leader, visionary, okay, and he surrounded himself with some great people as well. So think about that. You want to make money, you have to look at who are you? Are you becoming a person that's worthy? Are you becoming a person that actually is worth it? Meaning, you want to make $100,000 a year. Okay, well, what are you doing personally in the you versus you battle? What are you doing in some of the challenges? I mean, if you want to make $100,000 a year or $100,000 a month, when a challenge presents itself, are you one to freak out? Are you one to get nervous and scared, to run, to quit, to avoid certain phone calls or emails? Or are you the one to just take each challenge one by one, approach the challenge, see the current reality of that challenge and be able to say, you know what, I can move on. I'm going to do this. What can I do? How can I get better? How can we address the situation right, in front of us and move forward? That's what a real entrepreneur does, right? The entrepreneurial spirit isn't something that's taught. That's the problem, especially when I'm speaking about money. It's almost like I'm speaking a foreign language, because again, I'm not the Dave Ramsey. I'm not here to say, budget your money. I'm not the Susie Orman, never want to be, okay? You don't need to be. Those two do it masterfully, okay? And of course, I'm a student of them. I'm a student of Tony Robbins and all of the great books that he has written about money. Well, just the past 2 books, the past couple years, Money Master the Game. I mean, very, very good books, right? But really think about that. The entrepreneurial spirit isn't something that's taught in a formal setting, but rather by hard-fought lessons in the real world, like failing and experimenting and overcoming doubt. That's, I think, the situation I think we all face of how can I bring more income into my family? How can I support my family better? And as a man, let me speak to the other men. I know your heart. And women, listen up. Men, all they want to do is they want to provide for their family and have respect, have your respect and your admiration, words of affirmation, one of the love languages, right? I've never met a man who said to me, I don't care about providing for my family. I'll let my wife do it. Never. Not in my, never. Not in my 14 to 15 years as a full-time entrepreneur from home. Never in my 37 years on earth, almost 38 years. I've never been friends. I've never met that guy that's like, yeah, whatever. I don't really care about money. You don't care about money? Now, I've met women. Now, I have met a lot of women who said that. No, I don't really care about money. Well, they're married to a man that does. And that's no offense to the women because they're probably stay-at-home mom. They're probably doing their thing. I mean, no offense to that, but some women just there's just not, it's just not their love. It's just not their nature to focus on money. And I envy that sometimes. Like even in my wife, like she doesn't really worry about money. Whether we have it, we don't have it, whether we're investing a lot of money in a certain, maybe it's investing in, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing here or investing in my dreams and stuff. Like she's cool, and I'm like, gosh, how could she not worry? I'm worried. So I kind of envy women in that respect. Now there are women that obviously worry about money too, and are really all about it, and they're business women and they want to rock and roll. But I've just found men. This isn't a sexist thing or anything like that, of course. This is just the truth that from my own experience, I have seen men that want to just kill it for their family. And when a woman brings down the man with her words and degrades the man because he failed, okay, and of course, vice versa. It goes both ways. Don't get me wrong here, okay? Been on both sides of that. Whether I've coached someone through that, their own spouse, a woman I've coached, their husband's not very supportive because the woman failed many times. Either way, you got to understand when someone's going after their actual dreams and goals and they're failing and they're experimenting and they're trying to overcome all their doubt, the words of affirmation are critical to their money mindset. The way that they approach the money, because again, this is the point of no return. This is the point where businessmen and women quit. They quit. A lot of high percentage. It's like going to an Ironman. I've done them before, full Ironmans, okay? I did it in Louisville, Kentucky. Many people start the race, but few finish. Many people start the entrepreneurial race, but few finish. So think about that. Even if it's a friend or relative, it's so interesting in what I do when it comes to social media because, and what I've done in the past, because I'm actually, moving forward and wanting to become a thought leader, speaker, author, stuff like that, and really do events. And, I'm just kind of starting off my journey and what I call in the real world, in the everyday business community, the business sector, that I'm doing, not just in the MLM network marketing, that kind of business world. But I will say something that's interesting, and I think a lot of people can kind of find this humorous. When I'm working with someone or even myself, and let's say I post, something on social media today, tonight, right? I just posted on tonight. And I'll be like, I'm so excited about this opportunity. I started a business from home. I'm having an event at my house. This is a life-changing thing for my family. I'm finally stepping out of my comfort zone and becoming an entrepreneur, something that I've really just passionately pursued or wanted to pursue. And I finally found enough courage. This is a post, right? Let's just think about this. I finally found enough courage to do that. And they post it, hey, come support me. It means the world to me. That post gets like 1.5 likes, okay? Here's another post. Oh my gosh, I just got the job. $40,000 a year salary, full benefits. God is good. I'm just kind of being funny, but I've seen this post. Everyone and their effing mother commenting. Oh my gosh, we've been praying for you. And again, none of that's wrong. I'm a believer, and I might cuss and swear a few times or whatever, but it's just who I am. And nowadays in 2018, 2019, if you're offended by cuss words, just express yourself because you want to say it too, okay? The F word to me is the coolest word, okay? But definitely you got to use it the right way. But anyway, I'm a believer, right? Okay, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Like I love him. He is he is my bud. Okay, I'm serious. Like I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. Like I follow Jesus. Okay, and I don't care if you think that's weird or not. But at the same time, I don't want to offend anybody. Meaning I'm cool with everybody. I'm cool with atheists, cool with Jewish people. Some of my best friends are like, I'm cool with everybody because I respect everyone. I love everybody. And when I look at these posts, and it's just interesting because it's just like, really, like everyone should be praying a little bit more for that entrepreneur. Okay. Everyone should be really praying for the person that just literally walked away from his job to pursue his dreams and goals. And he's got one like, no support, no family support. He's got this dream that's amazing, but no results from it. He's probably not going to get results from it for quite a while. He's going to hustle. He or she, I should say, it's not a sexist thing again. He or she is pursuing this. It's this big goal, and no one's supporting them. In fact, so many people are watching them wanting to fail, right? But then you got this guy, this guy, right? Or this girl, 40,000 a year. Nobody wants to ask, well, what's your school loan? How much money do you still? Oh, $250,000. You'll pay that off when you're 60, with all the interest and everything. 40,000 a year. Really? Cool. 9 to 5. Wow. Hundreds of likes, hundreds of comments. So the bottom line is people just don't get it. Okay. So you have to understand that, and you got to dare to be different. Formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. Jim Rohn, my first mentor, said that. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Amen to that, right? Can I get an amen? Amen, brother. See, I didn't get rich because of college. I got rich because of Barnes & Noble. I got rich. I made millions of dollars myself because I started reading books like this at Barnes & Noble. And when I was so broke, when I was homeless and I had a bicycle, and that's all I could, that's my transportation for a little while when I was living in San Diego, when I first got my start in entrepreneurship, that was my sanctuary. That was where I learned how to have the skill set. I learned what to do. I learned about clarity. I learned about goal setting. So the bottom line is, where are you at mentally? Where did you start? Where did your road lead? And if you haven't started, where is your road leading to? Where do you start? Okay. So just remember, when in doubt, remember there are people so poor all they have is money. Okay. So again, money doesn't bring you happiness. It's the choices that it will bring in your life. Okay. And it will bring stability. It will help you get less stress. We've all been stressed because of money. But let me talk a little bit about value. So far, I'm kind of setting this up where, hopefully you're thinking differently. And I think the point of a podcast, well, at least the point of my podcast, is I want to just get a couple of just little points that I'm making that make you think more, to want to be hungry for more information. So I never wanted to have the greatest podcast, the greatest orator, the greatest speaker. I don't care about that. I want to be real, number one. I just want to be Todd Kale talking to you if we're having coffee, at Starbucks. Okay. I don't want to be this spectacular, knock your socks off speaker that you kind of think is fake. You're like, man, he's so good, but he's fake. I don't think I can ever approach this guy in real life. I'd probably laugh at him. I want to be like one of the boys, right? One of the bros. I want to be your friend, but at the same time, I want to bring a value where I can say a few things that intrigue you and say, "Wow, I want to look into that." I want to start shifting my mindset. I want to, oh wow, that was a good point. I want to shift my perspective. I want to shift this. I want to shift that, especially when it comes to money. Brennan Burchard says, if you create incredible value and information for others that can change their lives, and you always stay focused on that service, the financial success will follow. I've always heard it said, if you help enough people get what they want, you're going to get what you want. Zig Ziglar said that, right? Huge quote that I've really lived by, stood by for many, many years since I've been an entrepreneur. If you help enough people get what they want, you're going to get everything that you want. Isn't that cool? But how do I create that value? Sounds simple. And the truth is that it is that truth. It's pretty that simple, okay? People are drawn to those who create meaning for others, and it leads to abundance. So the bottom line is, you can't afford to be just successful. Let me repeat that. You can't afford just to be successful. You need to start understanding the power of significance. I want you to understand that when you're looking at money, when you're looking at your time, and money and time are, I mean, time is the ultimate wealth. Think about this. I mean, just quickly a philosophy as we wrap up this podcast very soon. But the philosophy is, look, what is your definition of rich? Okay, my definition of rich, I don't really have a specific definition, but it's time. Not that I'm broke. I mean, you could be homeless and you have all the time in the world, but I want to have a lot of time to do the things that I want to do and also work, because I think, especially as a man, because I can speak as a man because that's who I am. I love working. Like this is work for me, I guess, because I'm working and I'm taking time out of my life to pour into anyone that's listening, anyone that's willing to listen. I love it. But if I had to do this all the time and I didn't have time for my children and see they grow up, and didn't have time for travel, didn't have time for new experiences with my wife and friends, then yeah, this would suck, right? So if you're constantly working, you're constantly trading time for dollars, you're constantly doing things that you don't want to do. Now I get it, short term, yeah, do the things you don't want to do because you have a plan, you have a strategy, you have a way to execute on that strategy. Maybe it's a part-time business, a side hustle. I'm all for it. That's what I do. That's what I train on. That's what I raise up entrepreneurs in that spirit, because it's true. I mean, anyone could be an entrepreneur and anyone could be very successful on a side hustle, project, whatever you want to call it. But if you're constantly trading time for dollars and you're always focused on, Christmas, and, you get a little break there, maybe a week or two, a year on vacation, and it's such a big deal, that's not a life I want to have for 40, 50 straight years. I don't know about you, but you only get one of these things called a life, right? And the cool thing is we live in such an amazing time, especially if you live in America. I mean, you can live in a lot of other different countries and it's the same thing too, if not better. But being an American myself, there's freedom to do whatever the heck you want to do. Like, you can literally start a business, you can, start a different career, you can transition into a new title that you give yourself, and basically, you put it on LinkedIn, and, you can basically create even a persona, of that you're already successful just on the social media platform. Hey, take a photo shoot, especially if you're attractive, put a couple quotes on it, some content, get some likes, it's people start looking at you as the authority figure, right? But the bottom line is, what is your motivation? And wrapping up here, what really is your motivation? Is your motivation just to, get by? Is your motivation just to live? Just live a life, not a great life, but just live a life. Is your motivation to live a phenomenal life, a life on your terms, a life that you decide where you go, how you do it, where you're living, who you're with? That's the way to live. So if you haven't understood that up until this point, I got great news for you. You can come off this podcast and be like, look, I'm hungry. I'm coachable. I have I have the ability to have a capacity to grow and to learn and to develop a skill set in a field of my passion that I want to pursue. Look, I'm an author now, a published author. Look, I barely could write growing up in high school and college. I got like C pluses, C minuses from what I remember. But I always enjoy writing, but the grammar and the punctuation. I mean, I've had to really learn a lot in the past 3 to 4 years as a writer now, and of course, writing my book. But it's just become fun, just coming down in the morning and just writing and writing content for my social media, and just trying my best to be vulnerable, because sometimes you don't want to be vulnerable on certain things, but just trying my best to really reach the right people that really need the information, need what I'm going through. And then eventually being able to monetize on that. I started a coaching company and we did really well. And that's opened up to a lot of different coaching opportunities and public speaking and stuff like that. Like, all because of writing, something that I was passionate about, but I wasn't very good at. So the thing is, you might be passionate about something you're not very good at, but at least if you're passionate, like when I'm saying passionate, not for a day, not for like a week. I mean, like really something that you really almost are called to do. Like, you have this feeling inside. You're just like, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to lead my life. If money wasn't an issue, okay, this is what I would do. That's where it starts. If money wasn't an issue, this is what I would do. Okay, not just travel and vacation, because a lot of people say that, well, if money was an issue, I would just vacation. Well, That gets old because you have no purpose in life other than what you're going to do that day. That's fun. And that will get old after a month. You will want to have purpose. You will want to have meaning. You will want to have work. Okay. Unless you're 80 and you're tired of working. I mean, I don't know. It's just, every human being, man or woman, has to have purpose. Okay. And they have to be going for something that's significant. Okay. Or they're not going to stay. So I think to win this battle between you and your finances, I think we all need to ask ourselves, what do we value the most? Do our beliefs about money line up with where and how we place our value? Do our beliefs about money, think about that. Do your beliefs about money line up with where and how you place your value? All you got to do is well, what does that mean? Well, check your bank account. What was the last 10 things you spent your money on? Because that's what your value is. If it's junk food or entertainment, then that's what you value. So that needs to be a serious conversation of what is your current reality and what can you do about it? What do you want to do about it? Okay. It starts with how you think and it ends with what you do. Starts with how you think and ends with, okay, what are the actions I'm going to take here because of my current reality or whatever it is, right? After all, the real measure of wealth is how much you'd be worth if you lost all your money. And there's a big difference between net worth, right? Like what you have on earth, like money wise, and your self worth. So you got your net worth and your self worth. But you know what? When your self worth is so high, the money is going to follow the self worth. And that's what truly winning the battle within is all about. Look, if I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm going to crush it. I don't know where money's going to come from. I got bills all over the place. I don't know where I'm going to get this money at the moment. Like I'm temporarily broke, but I'm not broke minded. I'm not someone that's like always, woe is me. I have no money. I can't afford it. I can't afford that. Like those people drive me nuts. I mean, I've even had people already inbox me. Oh, I wish I could buy your book. It's just not a right time for us financially. It's 1995, lady, man, okay? It's not the right time for you financially to spend $20, okay? It's just those people, right? They don't have, and it's sad, but it's so hard and impossible to coach those people because I'd have to coach them for decades, okay? Literally. And yeah, I could say the right thing and I could turn them into amazing. I don't know if I believe like in 2 seconds, they could turn if you just say the right things and trigger the right. It takes 66 days minimum through the recent research that really changed the habit. We thought it was 21 days. Well, sure, 21 days is just the start, but really it's 66 days. So if you have somebody that already has a bad mindset, they don't have a high self-worth, and you're telling them, okay, you got to be in this business or you got to start this business, you got to go crush it for 66 days straight minimum. You got to wake up, go to your job. After your job, you got to come home, work another 5 hours, stay up late, get up early. Over 2 months of doing that, you're going to have a lot of people that fall off the wayside because they just don't have that self-worth to really know what they want and know what they're worth, even if they're not getting paid currently at their job. That's where the hunger comes in. That's where the belief system comes in. So do your beliefs about money line up, okay, with where and how you place your value? What significant thing are you doing with your money? What significant thing are you doing with your life? So here's what I want you to do. So coming off this podcast, what if you just defined your reality on paper? What if you shared on social media today your bank account number? How much is it? Not your bank account number, but how much is in your bank account? How much is in your checking account? Some of you be like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. I might get robbed because it's so much. Well, lucky for you. And I'm not saying to do that, but I'm just saying, what if you just thought about doing that? What if you're like, oh my God, does that make you like, like, oh my gosh, sweat like crazy right now? Just the thought that you could be exposed. Or maybe you have no money because you have a wealth mindset and you just, every dollar you make, you're saving and putting away in investments, and the rest you're just paying, your normal bills. I mean, hey, more power to you. So you could show your investment portfolio, okay? Some of your stock portfolio, your index fund portfolio, whatever it is. But you got to come just that human motivation. Like you got to just be straight up honest with yourself. Just be like, look, if I want to win this battle of money, what do I value and how can I change that value if I don't have any money in my bank account? What is your final situation or financial situation? Hopefully, it's not a final situation, but write it down. What is it? This is really the only way to create awareness, and awareness, I've always heard it said from my coach, leads to the choice to change and really create lasting change in your life. Hope is not a strategy when it comes to your finances. Um, or saying, well, I'm going to have money come in so I can overextend myself, or I can get that nice car. I can spend more money here and there because, hey, if I work harder in my business, in my company, the money will be there eventually. So I made that mistake many times. So set a goal. Where do you want to be in the next 12 months? Okay. Money should never own you. It owns a lot of people, though. You need to start owning it yourself. Okay. So, what if you list three things money does to better your life and the lives of those around you? What could you do good with money? This Christmas, we're giving away a good amount of money to a family, local family that just doesn't have money at all for their gifts for Christmas. And I'm really, really looking forward to that moment when I give them the cash or check, if they have an account, but some don't that we're helping, and they'll take cash and just to buy presents for their kids to have that experience. Tony Robbins, if you know anything about him, his Thanksgiving story, I'm not going to share it, but you can look it up, Google it. It's all over YouTube. Just rocked my world. It really made Tony Robbins who he is because he was suffering, and he somebody cared enough about his family on Thanksgiving Day to say, look, we don't want you to suffer anymore. And his dad at that time, because I think he had like four dads, shut the door, slammed the door, would not accept the food, the free gifts, the gifts of food. And Tony just saw like his suffering and that, what's the point of all this? And he just had this intangible sense inside of him to be like, I can't let more people suffer. And, he just created a whole business out of it, out of a feeling, right? A true feeling as a kid growing up, right? So doing things and having that realization that's a lot bigger than yourself, the significance of what you can do with money is really how you're going to last long term in the money game, and how money is going to come in abundance and not be scarce, okay? So if you're just working a job just to make the money, you won't last long. If you're starting a business just to make cash, you're not going to last long. But if you're starting a business so that you can spread a message of whatever your message is because you're so passionate about it, then the money will follow. Trust me. So think about this. What is your overall belief about money? Think about this question and answer this honestly. There is no right answer, okay? Only your belief. So, what is your overall belief? So, write that down. And then the last thing is, how has your upbringing or past experience negatively affected the way you look at money? How will you change that? My upbringing, it was probably a lot like yours. Always scared for money. Parents always scared. So, how do you take your upbringing, that negative effect it had on you? Maybe it was worry, and it was what was me stuff, even that maybe your parents or grandparents always talked about, even if they try to do it privately, you overheard. How can you change that about yourself? How can you get into a different mindset? Well, I recommend buy my book. So humbly, I do request, hey, just pay the $19.95. Go on Amazon right now, pick it up. It'll help you. It's not just going to help you with, like I said, budgeting and all that information of the how to. Because again, there's a lot of other authors and speakers that speak on that. See, for me, I'm just more of the mindset guy. How to really understand the philosophy of how I can have more money, more success, more significance, better relationships, understand who I am, my persona, really have a better calendar, a schedule, really win the battle within instead of self-sabotaging myself. So if I can build the foundation, then I can build the rest of the house. The how-to stuff will come in. But if you don't have a foundation of the philosophy of how you look at money specifically, or any of the battles that you face, you're bound to get crushed within yourself. And again, a lot of people are looking out there for the answers, but it's always been within you. The answer is already in you. You just haven't had time, or you've been so busy to sit and think and ponder in some of your past experiences and be like, look, I do love art. I do love jewelry making. I do love business. I do love entrepreneurship. I do love people. I do love leadership. Whatever it is, you start to come into your own. And you start realizing that what you're doing, you're not on the path, But it's that, but what if I fail? What if it goes this way, sideways? What if it goes right, left? Oh my gosh, what do I do? How do I navigate through that? That's where the rubber is going to meet the road. And that's why you need resources. That's why you need coaching. That's why you need people that believe in you, that you trust, that give you the right advice, that help you get clarity that you need, not tell you what to do, but just help give you that clarity, that runway that you can run off of and just kind of build that happiness, because that's what happiness is, in my opinion, is doing what you love doing. Yeah, the money will follow, but not stressing about the money in that process of you doing what you love doing. Worrying is okay because we're all going to worry and get nervous and stuff like that. But if you're constantly in fear, you're never going to have the right mindset towards money. Okay. So bottom line is, even if you're broke right now, bankrupt, whatever it is, the worst case scenario, or you're doing well, but maybe just unhappy a little bit with what you are doing, I would say take this podcast, listen to it a few times, share it with some people, talk about it, and just really be like, look, how can we refocus? How can I take my current reality, whatever it is, whether it's good or bad, and what's the gap between my current reality and where I want to go, and start really setting the right goals, start really changing the mindset, your perspective. And even if you are in the battle, like, look at it as like such a positive thing. Like, hey, I'm bankrupt. Cool. How am I going to get myself out of this? This is going to be a great story, Todd. Oh, wow. And then you do it. And then now you're like 10 times more inspirational than someone that's just making more money. 100 times more inspirational. A lot of other opportunities are opened up for you because of your story, and people are sharing it, and you're sharing it, and you're posting, and you're creating content, and you're sharing what you did to get out of that situation, which most people can relate with. So think about that. Turn your lemon into lemonade. Okay. But it is true, right? Turn that bad experience that you think and what you're worried about and what you're, oh my gosh, you're freaking out about, and to be like, look, then you're going to look back at it and say, that was the best thing that ever could happen to me. Because that's when I finally got my shit together. And do it before the wife threatens to leave. Do it before the husband threatens to leave. Don't wait till it's doomsday, because I've had a few of those in my life, and I'm sure you have too, before you actually create the self-awareness. Oh, I don't need to listen to this whatever. He doesn't know. I'll focus on that later. I'm just going to go have a beer. You're either growing or declining. So start growing today. It's your choice, okay? Appreciate the time. Thanks so much for listening to episode 3. Hope I was able to add value to you. Again, this is episode 3 of It's Not Out There, It's In You podcast. And it's been a pleasure and honor to share this moment with you in your life. Thanks so much for taking time out of your life to be on this podcast with me. We're going to be bringing some great guests on the other podcasts that we do that are going to be coming up here very soon. So look forward to that. I'll be interviewing people on different topics of the you versus you battle, and you versus your freedom, to give you an example, you versus your calendar, you versus your schedule, you versus your promises, which that's a tough one, you versus your health. So we're going to bring in some great you versus your relationships. Can't wait to do that with my wife. And we're going to get very vulnerable, very real, okay? Now, I've struggled with finances my whole life, okay? I've made millions, I've lost millions, I've been up and down. But the bottom line is I've created such a strong philosophy that I actually stopped focusing about money, if that makes sense. So instead of focusing on money, I didn't really focus too much on the money. I'm more focused on what I love doing, what I'm good at, what I can get better at. If I'm a 7, I can get to a 9 or a 10. People pay for 9s and 10s. But if I'm just focusing, okay, where's my next paycheck coming from? Oh my gosh, I'm going to write a book, and hopefully, oh God, please, I'm going to sell a lot of copies so I can make some money. Please, God, please. No, I'm going to take my skill set of promoting. I'm going to take my skill set of communicating, and then worry about the money later. Because if I can focus on promoting it and sharing the message effectively, the money's going to come through other offerings as well. So isn't that cool? Thank God, a load hopefully is off you right now. Say, look, I just got to pursue my passion, put a great strategy together, have a coach, have people around me, my mastermind, and then put that together and then start executing, right? You can't just be hungry. You got to have ambition. You got to go after it. I'm going to start executing on my strategy that I have laid out, so I have that clarity and I know what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. And then I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to get to work. And then a year later, I put my head up. Holy crap. Wow. I'm way better off than I used to be, both time and money. Okay? So Guys, I wish you all the best and looking forward to helping you in the future. Thanks so much for listening.